All right, we are recording. So yeah, I'm still on a break from doing the daily signed reading videos. I'm still thinking about how I may want to change up that schedule to give me more time to read. But I'm working through the backlog of written reviews for those stories I did. Currently, I'm in the middle of the prequel trilogy, working on Phantom Menace. Hopefully, I will have that done soon, but it'll still be a bit before that goes live. And because I should, in fact, promote stuff like this, let me just do this. Turn that on. Okay. So this is the Substack, which the link has always been in the description. I doubt anyone's following it. That's okay. But if you want to find the written reviews, just throw it right here. Have a tab, signed reading tab, so you can find them all there. Empire Strikes Back is the most recent one. But Return of the Jedi is already written. It's up. It's just scheduled to come out in the future from date of recording. Yeah. And hopefully Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, all those that I did videos for but didn't do written reviews for. Hopefully I will get to all of those soon. Get through all of them soon, and then I can be back to new books to do the chapter-by-chapter critiques. And sorry about that. But what is the purpose of this video? Well, right now I'm pretty sure I've got a title name of like cover impressions and then the month. I had this idea a while ago, and I kind of like it, and it's like, you know what, if I want to just put something up on the channel, this'll work. Change a little bit how I'm doing it from what I had originally envisioned, but the idea is I'm just going to be critical of cover art. It's like, even when I did the signed reading of this, I was critical of the cover art, and I don't think this is very good cover art, because they're movie novelizations, but I don't think you should use an image that is straight out of the movie, especially not this one, because the whole journey of the prequel trilogy is supposed to be Anakin becoming Vader, but he already is right here. And I know we know that's what's going to happen, but it still is. You don't need to have that be what's prominent there. It's like, and it's literally seen from the end of the trilogy. Yeah, I don't consider it that good. And it's also, I don't think you should. A novelization is a different medium than a film. Don't use an image directly out of the film for it, or one that looks like it could be directly out of the film. So the original trilogy novelization is over there. That one, that it's an image that we do recognize from the films, but it was still painted or something like that. It was still an artist did a new rendering of it than just we're going to use a still from the film. That I feel is a much better approach, because that way I get the whole, hey, this is the film, it's related to that, but at the same time, it is different. Anyhow. So the idea I had was to go through books, modern books that basically, let me pull up Amazon, let me pull up Kobo, let me pull up Barnes & Noble. Those are the three I've looked through for this. I've got 6 books in total, 2 from each, it works out. But let me just see, what are they promoting? Look at the covers. Do I think this is a good cover? Do I think this is a bad cover? I'm being critical, so yes, I am being critical. I'm also looking at blurbs in some cases. I think this first one, I actually didn't look at the blurb. I didn't need to, though. This first one, if it is what I'm remembering, and I might be, well, here, let me just pull it up. Am I right? Yeah, no, this one, I actually do like this cover. I've not read the blurb. I don't need to read the blurb. The cover itself tells me a lot. I will also say I don't think that this book is for a man, but that doesn't mean it is not a good cover. I do think this is a good and effective cover, so I'm going to talk about that. But as I've not read any of these books. I don't have any of these books. My criticism is limited exclusively to the cover and to a blurb. As I said, I didn't read the blurb for this one. I don't need to. At least I don't think I need to. The cover does a lot. The others, though, I'm pretty sure I looked at the blurbs for all of them, and some of them are really bad. We'll get to that. But I just want to be clear. I cannot criticize the body of the book itself because I'm not familiar with any of it. I'm just criticizing the cover art. And blurb if I looked at it. So let's look at this one. So immediately when I looked at this, I didn't even read the subtitle. I just saw Nobody's Girl, which already that title's like, yeah, that's probably not for men. The image there seems to be a photograph of a woman, and how it's fading away, kind of. It's like, okay, I mean, it's like, yeah, that's probably, again, more feminine coded. But still, I mean, it's like, it's a decent image. It is there, and I see that. It's just, it doesn't connect with me, but I get it. Then I read a memoir of surviving abuse and fighting for justice. Like, oh, no, this is a very good cover. I already had nothing nothing really negative, but the way that that gradient is going over her face like that and obscuring it, hiding it, she's surviving abuse, so she probably at times was feeling like no one could see her, no one was seeing her. And again, emphasizing that nobody's a girl could... You could use that for a romantic comedy. That's not the case here. At least I'm assuming it's not. That would be wild. Well, I mean, I guess it could be a romantic comedy in that she is, escaping abuse and finding somebody who actually loves her. That could be the case, but I'm not assuming that. I don't think that that's what this is going to be about. But still, that cover art there, I think it's very good. I very much appreciate that. Here, let's actually look at the blurb, get a little bit more out of this. And by the way, I will put the links to the 6 stories in the description so you can find these yourself. But it is going to be at the site that I'm showing. So in this case, the Barnes & Noble link. She's own hearing story in her own words, detailing the use of abuse that she endured and her subsequent fight for justice. I could potentially take more detail. I have more detail from that. Okay. She's an Epstein victim. Okay. So then I see here, she's the one who killed herself actually, a little bit more than 6 months ago now. Okay. I did not realize that was her. Sorry, I didn't recognize the name. Okay. So I don't necessarily feel like I need to read more here, but no, that legitimately, this cover, even without recognizing the name, without recognizing the picture, still got such a sense of what this was, and it's definitely not, no potential for this to be a romantic comedy. Because, I mean, as I said, just the title, Nobody's Girl, I could technically see that being applied there. Okay, I mean, sorry. Alright, what's the next one? Yes, okay. So then we got this one. And this is, we're going to focus on the cover art first. It's how we're going to do with all these. And this... When I first saw this image, because remember, I've looked at all these already, it's like, okay, yeah, some aspects of this cover art, I would say, is kind of masculine coded. And to be clear, it's not like I have a list of things that qualify it or not. It's still all subjective. But the fact that it's kind of a calmer image, the details are there, but they're more subtle. So, for example, twice, I got no idea what this necessarily means. And initially, when I just saw the small image there, I didn't realize it, but then seeing it larger like it is now, then saw, oh, it's got a couple facing each other, holding each other for the eye there. It's like, okay, this is some sort of romance book. Look, nothing against romance books. That doesn't mean that's what I want to read. But it still is the relatively simple colors there, and that it's like, okay, where am I, am being pulled first to the author name, which that's just a general criticism I have, and this isn't masculine feminine code. It's, I read books, I don't read authors. Please make the title more prominent than the author name. But still, it's like, oh, it's a romance book, great. But then I kept looking and I noticed something. And it's like, this is one of those things that I would say is more common on a masculine coded cover art than feminine coded. It is you're supposed to like drawn to specific points, and then you start exploring out from there for more detail. I'd seen months ago a book that was very obviously feminine coded. Unfortunately, none of these are really that, so I can't give a good contrast. But let me just tell you what this detail is that I noticed. Look at the shadow and the ground underneath the eye. Because in the top one, they're facing each other and holding each other. It even looks like you can see her hands reaching out behind his back. But in the shadow, they're actually back to back. They're not facing each other. So it's like, okay, we have some sort of strife here as well between them. So it's like happy and unhappy together. It's like, okay, figuring out about some of this book. And then looking at the blurb, what if you got to do everything in your life twice? Don't know why we needed the dash there, but anyway. The heart of Mitch Albom's newest novel, charmingly narrated by Mitch himself, is a stunning love story that dares to explore how our unchecked desires might mean losing what we've had all along. I'll be honest, that's a really generic blurb there. And this is definitely me talking as a guy. I don't know well enough how women think, partly because I am a man, so that shall never be achieved. But it's that isn't going to draw in a man. Just saying. When he is 8 years old, Alfie Logan discovers the magical ability to get a second chance at everything. He can undo any moment and live it again. The one catch, he must accept the consequences of his second try, for better or worse. Yeah, it looks like then a little bit more. But it's like, okay, so now I understand why it's twice. And also, it's like facing that stuff. It's like, okay, this is the potential here of actually a story that I would enjoy. But it's a stunning love story. That immediately is like, this probably isn't for me. And also, it's like the cover art. How I'm trying to think of the best way to put this. It's sort of this might be a very good book, but it would probably be the only way I would read it. And this is just a generic, not I could, read this and analyze it. Just a generic, it would probably be if like I had a girlfriend, had a wife who read it and was like, this is a really good book, you should read it. It's like, yes, honey. I was like, in that sort of situation, I'd probably read it. It's like, there's not enough here for me to be like, I ain't touching this. But it is just, it isn't aimed at me. I am not its target. So I'd rather look to books that are my target, that do target me. Okay, so these next two books the cover art kind of goes together in a way. Wait, no, sorry. No, the two after. The next one, book 3, it's just general criticism. 4 and 5, there is actually something about them that is common between them that I want to talk about. But yeah, let's look at this one. So, let's pull this up. John Grisham, The Widow. Okay, well, two things right away. One is the whole, it's the same font size as The Widow. The author and title are the same font size. So it's like, okay, I still wish title were the biggest, but whatever. At least it isn't John Grisham and then The Widow. So at least there's that. But still, The Widow. Okay, I'm already expecting this is going to be some sort of romance story. And what do we got here? As I said at the start of this, I'm just being critical of all this stuff, so maybe it makes sense, I don't know, but this looks like a freaking stock photo, okay? It's a hallway. What? If I knew architecture, I'd be able to say what the style is, because this does look to be a specific style. Might even be able to tell you what the specific location is, but it's a hallway. Am I going to be reading a book on hallways? What significance does this have? I have no clue at all. At all. It tells me nothing. Aside from maybe the story happens in a hallway. And then the widow. What does the widow have to do with the hallway? Is the widow in the hallway? Did she become a widow? What is this? What is this? I have no concept of what the story might be. There is nothing here. This is a horrible cover. Because it in no way draws me in it. There is no image forming in my mind for what the story is. And that's key. That is key. And you know what? Going back to this. This is giving me the image in my mind. Right? Straight away. It is not giving me an image for what is in the body. It is giving me an image just directly off the cover. And that, I think, makes it a bad cover. Sure, why not? Got a movie down here. This is also good cover art. Stargate, my Ultimate Edition DVD, where you've got pyramid, the gate there, this light, and it's obviously an abstract image because the gate doesn't float over it like that. But coming up from that, it's like this is evocative of what is going on here. It's like Stargate. The ring itself looks kind of technological, but we're seeing the ancient pyramids. It's like what's going on here? You see the people there, and they're looking up. They're in the desert. It's like so sense of adventure, sci-fi, ancient history. The hieroglyphs are. It's like this is an effective cover. Because of all the stuff it's showing me there. And I can see that image building in my mind of what this might be. It might not be an accurate image, but I'm still getting that image. And that is more so, I feel, what you need to sell. What cover art is supposed to give you that image that entices you, that interests you. So now you want to watch the movie, now you want to read the book. This gives me no image. There is nothing here. in that way is completely ineffective. And what's worse, what do you think the genre is? A small-town lawyer gets caught up in a race to catch a killer and reclaim his own innocence in Josh Grisham's latest. How does that tell you it's a murder mystery? Maybe the author's name, but as I said, I read books, not authors. So, and if I don't know who he is, there's a lot of authors out there. Technically, I'm one. And yeah, technically I am one. And it also, if you just see, oh, this is a book by Jim, what the hell genre is it going to be? He does superhero fantasy, he does science fiction. That's just based on what he's already written. I got ideas for plenty of other stuff, too. I mean, yeah, it had to have been this one. I had an idea years ago that would be not too dissimilar to this. And yes, would be a romance story. I got fantasy stories. I mean, it's just in here. I mean, this is part of the reason why I don't think you should read author. You should read books. Because sometimes the author does do different things. And sometimes different styles. I've also got a stack of Isaac Asimov books over there. 3 of them I enjoy. 2 of them I don't. One of them, I once saw someone give an explanation for why it is so different from his others. Is that he was basically trying to write a detective story, but he doesn't know how to write a detective story. It's like, yep, that's a fair way to put it. All right, so yeah, it's how that image makes you think murder mystery. I got no clue. I don't think it does. So yeah. All right. Close that. For those of you that don't know, because I'm using OBS's built-in browser thing, and I have to open up a window to interact with it. Okay, so now we got this one. This cover. Oop. Hang on. Pulled up the wrong one. There we go. This cover, I actually do like. Especially, it works with the blurb. It works with the blurb. Because what are the first 2 things you see when you look at this cover? One is the title, Alchemized. It's like, okay, immediately, this is alchemy, so we're talking about magic, maybe also Middle Ages kind of setting, but definitely there's magic here, right? What's the second thing we look at? We look at the hooded and cloaked figure in red, and it's kind of funny. When I first saw that, I was thinking, this is like the 4th time I've recorded the video, but when I first saw that, I was thinking, that's a woman. I don't know why. I think it's a combination of the hood being up and it being red. So it's like you're obscuring yourself with the hood, but then at the same time, it's red. People are going to see you because it's red. It's bright. It might also be that there was another book months ago that I had seen that also the figure was red. I'm pretty sure that was actually a woman there. So it might just be, I'm remembering that and being biased for that reason. But reading the blurb, that's very, very possibly is in fact a woman. But in any case, she's there. So it's like, I'm drawn there, and then look out around her. We have this dark, not monochromatic, but it's like the rest of the palette for the image seems to be like one color that you're just adjusting the saturation or adjusting the brightness on, and that's it. You're not, it's not colorful. So there's literally the one thing standing out, and that's, I assume, the main character in red here. But there's more to it than that. Let's also look at the size of things around her. Look at the gate. That looks like it's 5 times bigger than her. Well, taller, at least. The architecture. Again, this is actually, it looks like Gothic architecture to me. We've got these spire things that, the decorations around them very much remind me of Gothic cathedrals that have spires with similar decorations there, but also the 2 windows above where it says SenLinYu. Those windows, that exactly looks like, if I were to pull up I don't have a book, but if I were to pull up a book or something of different photographs of cathedrals, I think I'd find those windows. Gothic cathedrals, because they do look like they are Gothic arches, so they go to a point, whereas Roman arches were rounded. So it looks like, they bend up to that point, and then if you actually do look close enough, and you may just want to click the link to see, and by the way, some of these books are definitely available in other places, the links are going to be from wherever I'm viewing them here. You can see it might actually be stained glass, or at least how you have the metal separating the pieces of stained glass there. I mean, this very much looks Gothic there, but it's dark. It's kind of maybe grimy. Like, is this all supposed to be so dark? Or is it that dirt has accumulated on there to make it look dark? I don't know. But still, it's all imposing, out of place, right? That character seems out of place here and potentially in danger because it's so different from everything around. Let's look at this blurb. In this riveting dark fantasy debut, dark fantasy, that fits the setting. And also with the whole alchemy, so there's magic. You would expect that in dark fantasy. A woman with missing memories immediately, look, because she is small compared to everything else. Missing memories, so she doesn't know where she is, who she is, maybe what's going on. That makes sense. That actually lines up perfectly with this cover art. Fights to survive a war-torn world of necromancy and alchemy. I don't know how I'd get war-torn out of this, I'll be honest. Maybe the whole grimy, grungy kind of look that might be there, I'm not sure. But I will also admit I was in part saying that because I remember that was part of the description. Sorry. And the man tasked with unearthing the deepest secrets of her past. Okay, I will still grant it's a little generic, some of that description, but on its own, I'm actually pretty happy with this cover art and with that blurb. That is kind of interesting to me. I don't know if I would actually find the book interesting, and I got other books to read first, but hey, let me just... Yeah, of these 6 books, this is absolutely the one, based on cover art and blurb, next one gets to that, I would be most interested in. I legitimately would be the most interested in reading this one. Just because it's... There is some aspects to the cover art that does turn me off a little bit. Let me pull that back up. Just some of the art style itself, the excess of brush strokes, like there's a texture to a lot of it that I don't necessarily like a great deal. But I mean, it's, yeah, that's fine. So I can still... The cover art is effective here. The blurb matches it. So yeah, it's like, I'm pretty good with that. Anyway, I'm just reading a little bit more, but it's just that this is... I am happy with this one. I legitimately am. Alright, now let's look at this next one, which, in a way, the cover art is a little similar, in that, if you look at this... Just pulling that up, let me put that over. And it's apparently an older book because they added a chapter. It's a new edition. But what do we have here? Where does the eye first go? I mean, besides the title, these windows, right? The windows up there. I forget, I'm moving the cursor around. I forget you can't actually see that in the recording. But the windows, the eyes are drawn there. It's like, okay, well, the windows are something. It looks like it's a cabin in the middle of the woods or something. We can see the woods all around. Side of a mountain because we can see different layers. It's like, okay, when you disappeared, it's like, okay, it's a mystery about where somebody went. Like, this is the image forming in my mind. Like, somebody just vanished from this cabin, and it's like, okay, where'd they go? And somebody, like, potentially trying to find them. Maybe other people being like, not been long enough, or just, nah, he's not missing. It's like, whatever, and just it being dismissive of it. So it's like, no, you have to overcome that and still go out and find this. And the story is about what happened when that person disappeared, the challenges that the searcher went through, right? That's what it reads. That is the image I get in my mind. And is not at all what we get from the blurb. All she wanted was the truth, but she'll wish she never found out. It's like, okay, that could still work with the image. When Catherine wakes up alone one morning, she thinks her husband has gone for a run before work. Still can work. But Simon never makes it to the office. His running shoes are by the first door. Nothing is missing except him. Okay, that all works with that image. Catherine knows Simon must be in trouble. He wouldn't just leave her. He wouldn't leave the children. This is starting to get feminine, okay? Because the fact he is missing, Simon knows he must be in trouble. That's enough, okay? That is enough for men. You don't need to enforce the point of we gotta find him because he wouldn't just leave her. It's like, well, he's missing. That's enough for us to go looking for him. He wouldn't leave the children. It's like, we get that. But he's missing is enough for us, okay? You don't need to... I get it is building the whole... the fact that the Catherine is even there, it's like, okay, he's married or this is a girlfriend. Either way, we got that because we're talking about her already. And the kids. Fine. But it's still we don't need this reinforcement here. He's missing, you gotta find him. We're in. But Simon knows the truth. Well, that ruins it. That ruins it right there. because that means he's alive. We're going to be following his perspective. He's not missing. He left. Okay, so immediately that image I had, gone, shattered, because so I would have no interest in this now, because the image from the cover doesn't align with I'm guessing it's the contents of the book. I am assuming that the blurbs are representative of the book. That could be wrong. They can also just be badly written blurbs, but it still is no, I'm expecting this to be we're finding the person who disappeared, and it's going through the process of the search. That's what my expectation is. But nope. That's not what the story is, apparently. He knows the truth about why he left and what he's done. He knows things about his marriage that would kill Catherine to find out. The memories she holds onto are lies. This is now targeting women. Okay, I mean, sorry, but that's the read I get from there. It might still be a good book. I don't know, but it still is. I form an image in my mind based on the cover art, based on the title. Shattered in the third paragraph of the blurb. And that image does matter. Because this is something that, back when I was still actively doing the video game reviews, a point I would make about the stories in a video game is the purpose of a story in a video game is to give the player a reason, a motivation to continue playing, right? And beyond just, I have fun. But it's okay, what is my goal? Where am I actually going? Why am I doing this? And sometimes it can be very simple. Okay, I would use the term a save the princess story, where what's the story? To save the princess. What's your motivation? To save the princess. And that's it. There's nothing beyond that. Right? And that's fine. That's enough. I mean, it's kind of like the whole, you don't need to reinforce it with, he wouldn't just leave her. It's no, he's missing. That's enough. And he wouldn't leave the children. Again, we don't need that. We got enough already. Just, we need to save the princess. We need to find him. No more is needed. So having that motivation is important. The cover art for a book is supposed to be at least giving the motivation to open the book. When that motivation is broken, though, such as by this blurb clearly describing something different than what I got from the cover art, motivation is broken. I'm not going to bother with it. And that sucks. That is not where I want to be with this, but it is. All right, now for this last one, which I could get in trouble with. There are things I could say. Let's first look at this. Come on. There we go. Notes on Being a Man by Scott Galloway. I'll be honest. The title, you'd think that this is targeting men and young men. The cover art, though, that looks like a woman's handwriting. I'm sorry, it does. Just the how much it curves. The fact that we don't have consistently strong, bold letters. It's like, look at the T, look at the B, look at the A and the M. So many of those downstrokes or upstrokes. It's streaking. It's not solid there. And it's like, where's the strength of a man's hand pressing to make sure this is visible? Where's that? It's not there. So it looks more feminine. It legitimately does. And this is clearly also a marker as well. And just, it should be, make it a good, healthy, bold marker. It's not. It is not. So, yeah, it's like immediately, just from that, it's I'm not feeling this book. This should be a book that targets me. It's not. But the artwork, right away, nope, it's not. Let's look at the blurb. The co-host of the Pivot podcast offers a path forward for men and parents of boys. Yeah, that's what he claims. Well, at least that's what the blurb claims. Boys and men are in crisis. Yeah. Excuse me. Rarely a cohort has fallen further and faster than young men living in Western democracies. Yeah, I mean, it's like, I already know this, and this is one thing that is important about this book, is that in theory, this is a book for people that they already know this, right? You don't need to convince, the target audience for this should be people who are already aware of this problem, okay? Don't try to sell it to those people who aren't aware of the problem, because some of them, if they're not aware, it's because they are truly ignorant, meaning they're ignoring it. Not just they're without that knowledge, but they avoid that knowledge. Boys are less likely to graduate from high school or college than girls. Okay? 1 in 7 men reports having no friends, and men account for 3 of every 4 deaths of despair, meaning suicide, in America. I don't mind saying the word. I don't care about the algorithm. And also, I hate the idea that you can't say that word, and various other words as well. It's like, no, if we're talking about something specific here, we should be allowed to use that word. It is in appropriate context then. But so reports having no friends. It's like, yeah, some of that is... Look, I got 2 friends, and neither of them are necessarily that great of friends, but it's what I got. Even worse, the lack of attention to these problems has created a vacuum filled by voices espousing misogyny and demonization of others, and a toxic vision of masculinity. Okay, look. Let me be clear on something here. I'm not saying that's wrong. I am saying there's many, many, many other voices, okay? A danger can be elevating them by saying, oh, they're the ones filling the vacuum. So once you're saying that, you're highlighting them. Sort of the Streisand effect thing. In that, I don't even remember these people's names, but by saying that's them, it's like you might, by bringing them up, turn people towards them versus, I mean, in theory, as I continue through the blurb, there's some stuff said in here that it is at least feminine coded language. So it's like, yeah, this isn't targeting men. So I got problems with this. But let's go with the hypothetical, because I can't speak to it. It has to be hypothetical for me, that this is actually a very, very good and effective book for what its purpose is. Let's say that. Direct me there. Don't direct me to... Don't talk about these other things filling with so-called toxic masculinity. Some of it, I will agree, is, but there's also some where people just... throwing that term around because they're trying to be offensive. They're trying to insult, and they also don't know what the hell they're talking about. Alright. But don't feed that fire. Don't say, those are the things filling the vacuum. Say, no, there's this. Okay? This is where people can go. Nothing wrong with that. Alright, so just... It's one of those things that the whole, what is the answer to bad speech? It's more speech. It's not less speech. But the problem is, the more speech, you don't have to constantly refer back to the bad speech because it then elevates it, because it keeps it relevant. Don't do that. And I was emotionally there just because I was putting the bad speech over here. Coincidentally on this side of me instead of this side. Sorry, I'm not saying this is bad speech. I don't know. But this is not just a male issue. Okay, right away you've got a problem now. Okay, this book is supposed to be for men, to men, targeting men. But this is not just a male issue. It's like, you're now starting to target other people. Okay, that's a problem. You want to write something to solve these problems, target the men. Okay, now don't get me wrong. Some of the issue is not coming from men. It's coming from women. Okay, that is true. But men can't control women. Men can control men, both themselves and other men. If you want to write something like a Notes on Being a Man to try to influence men to be better, or at least to help them through their struggles, don't start talking about women. Don't start targeting women with, yes, this is also going to help you. No, don't do that. Because you're turning off the people that's like, well, I need the help. Why are we going to them? Women and children can't flourish if men aren't doing well. This is true. Okay, this is true. But it's still, you can use that to reinforce that, hey, you're struggling, and maybe you're married, maybe you got kids. This is also a book to help you. Okay? But but this is not just a male issue. No, just your wives and children can't flourish if you aren't doing well. See, that's also, talk to the man. You don't want to necessarily talk in generalities, and there's a line later down, which is very much this, where it's not talking to men, it's just being more subjective. And it's just... And as we know from spats of violence, there is nothing more dangerous than a lonely, broke young man. So now you're blaming them. I mean, it's like you're trying to target the audience of men. Your audience is men. The target audience is men. There we go. I started saying it badly and stumbled trying to get there. Yeah, that's your target audience, right? But then you get to, and as we all know, well, it's like the most dangerous thing is a lonely, broken. So now your target audience, you're also making the victim. You're also victimizing right there by saying, hey, And if we don't solve this, you might be violent. It's like, what the hell's wrong with you? What? No, this is wrong. I would not trust this book. I wouldn't want to read this book. And I'm only in the first paragraph of the blurb. That's how badly written this blurb is. That might also be how bad the book is. I don't know. I haven't read it, and I'm not going to. This is a terrible blurb. There's a part of me that I would almost want to be like, screw this and just try writing my own version. The only problem is that my life is still miserable. I was like, some of the aspects that might be in this book would be things that would influence me, that I could benefit from. Because I'm still in some of the situation. I'm not violent, though, and I know the majority of us aren't. Okay, it's the despair part. That's more so the problem, but it's just, this is a really terrible blurb. It might be a great book, but it's a terrible blurb and bad cover art. And then saying that he's been sounding the alarm on the issue for years. Okay, fine, talk yourself up. That makes sense for being there. Explores what it means to be a man in modern America. He promotes the importance of healthy masculinity and mental strength. Yes, okay, this is my criticism. Don't say healthy masculinity, okay? That's fine in conversation to talk about. That's fine. Like if this were more so a podcast I'm just going through, that would be fine. Because then I'm continuing and providing all the context here. It's not just dropping the term, as this does, the blurb does. Because I get the whole healthy masculinity is the counter to toxic masculinity. I get that idea. But to just drop it is saying, I'm going to tell you what is healthy masculinity. No, that's a subjective term, okay? Don't say that. Just say, let me tell you what masculinity is. And then can go through all of it and do it a bit more in a neutral way. But it's like, because some of the toxic masculinity stuff, the reality is that's not masculinity. That's childishness. Some of it is legitimately that. Okay? But to say the importance of healthy masculinity, it's like, you're setting this term up with, I'm not telling you about being a man. I'm telling you about what I think a man is. It's like, that's already, that's what the toxic masculinity, some of that nonsense is, hey, I had so much fun doing this, and that's cool. That's not helpful. That's not helpful. Right? It's attractive to some people, especially if they are a little bit more childish already, or just that they want to act out, and it's giving them permission to act out. Because, hey, he gets away with it. But masculinity has other things. Like, talk about that. The nature of masculinity, the aspects that we have adopted into our culture of that. Because a lot of the aspects of chivalry, we don't have, but a lot of them are still there. But is that healthy masculinity? Is that toxic? No, it's masculinity. Just talk about it that way. And it's subjective. What do you consider healthy? What do you not? I know that when I throw around the term healthy with this or that, it's subjective. It is my definition for it. I think it's a broadly accurate definition, but it's still, whenever I do that, I explain, I give the context. So, I'll do that right now. I've got rules as far as what I do and do not include in stories. So, it's like, basically, I feel anything can be in a story. There's nothing off limits, but it needs a reason. And there's 4 here. Sex, that's one that I want to talk about. Violence, swearing, cursing, that also includes slurs, and drugs and alcohol. But it's like, if they don't benefit the story, they're not going to be in there. So like my super fantasy stories, yes, there's violence, because good guys punch bad guys. Sometimes, though, it goes a bit more. Like in The Children of Many Gifts, there's straight up mutilation in some of that, but it's also part of introducing a character who's a bad person. So it's like the context there is, yes, mutilation isn't good, but it's a bad guy, so it actually works out. There's a context there. So coming to the healthy thing, and that specifically with sexuality, I would write a book, a love story, where in the end, the couple, they get married. I can skip to the next day, the next week, the month, even the next year, okay? I could skip to, hey, they got kids. I don't need to describe any aspect of their sexual activity. because they're married. So their sexual activity, their sexuality would be described as healthy. And we all know what that is. We understand that. We don't need it described. So contextually, it's inappropriate. But if I wanted to depict unhealthy sexuality, then if that needs to be in the story, now I do need to describe it. Because at that point, I need you to understand why it's unhealthy. So one example I have, not one of my books, 1984. There's a description there. I don't remember the main character's name. Forgive me for that. But he goes to a prostitute. And it does describe a fair amount there. And it's actually revolting. Why? Because you're supposed to see how revolting the character is, how repulsive some of his actions are, how degraded he is, and degraded the world is. You're gaining all that through that unhealthy sexuality. But you see, I gave all this explanation as to what healthy and unhealthy is there. I gave that context. So I'm okay using that term. Here, just healthy masculinity, what does that mean? What does that mean? And it isn't quite a keep reading and you got it, and you'll get it, but I'll explain that. But also, and mental strength. Okay. The men going through this shit and are continuing to go through it, you already have mental strength, okay? Let's be real. What you need is support. You don't need people telling you that, oh, you need mental strength. No, I got that. I got that. What I need is a good job. What I need is people to respect me. What I need is people to support me, okay? I don't need you telling me I need mental strength. I got that. His own story from boyhood to manhood, which, by the way, he looks, at this point, somewhat old, so it's... not to say his experience wouldn't be useful today. He did not grow up in this time period, though, so he didn't necessarily grow up through some of this, which... I'm just being persnickety, granted, because this one is ticking me off, but... exploring his parents' difficult divorce. Okay. There's a lot of people that can share those stories. His issues with anger and depression. I could share those too. His attempts to earn money. I graduated in 2011. I could not find a job. Every time I applied for a job, even those times I got... Yeah, there's one time. And this is back in 2011. Remember? But it was the Great Recession, as they call it. And it's just, I lost every coin flip to get a job. Yeah, that really sucked. And that's, like I said, the despair, the anger, all that. I understand it. Trust me. This targets me. But I remember one of them. This was, company was doing interviews at their offices. And this was like promoted on campus. So that's probably the reason why I went there. And it had 3 interviews. Everyone was getting 3 interviews. The last one was actually with the company president, and I asked the question, because, at the end, you ask a question, I asked, okay, if you were going to reject me, what would be the reason why? And the reason he gave me, and it's like, I accept and walked away. If I got that answer today, like if you put my current brain in young me's body, I might have opened up the door just so that when I yell at him, everyone would hear it. It's like, the dude needed to be shamed to hell and back for what he said. You don't have enough work experience. It was an entry-level job. Okay? It was an entry-level job, and he's saying you don't have enough work experience. Yes, I don't. You know why? Because this is where I'm supposed to get it. This is the kind of job I'm supposed to get that at. What the hell is wrong with you? Why are you prioritizing for an entry-level job people that already have experience? And I did have work experience. Not specifically in that field, but I did have work experience. So it's not like, oh, well, I don't know about your work ethic. It's like, do you want to hear about it? About how... Prior to that, I worked 10 straight semesters because I also worked over summer while I was in college. It was on campus. It was I actually worked for the math department. Do you want to hear about that? Do you want to hear about how technically, technically I was still owed like 120 hours worth because I spent so much time there. I had to clock out so I wouldn't get in trouble. So I basically just volunteered my time there because I enjoyed the work, and some of the people there, they needed me there. I was good at my job. So it's, you really want to, you really think I need more work experience than that? Let me be clear, that is not what young men are facing today. That was potentially what everyone was facing at that time. Where it's like, yeah, they weren't interested in hiring new people unless they were certain. But how can you be certain because they're new? It's like the whole, you're trying to hire somebody with work experience for an entry-level job. We're supposed to get that work experience. And his life raising 2 boys. You know, one thing that also occurs to me, where's his wife? Where's the mother of these 2? She might not be in the picture. That's fine. He shouldn't. Is he alone in that? Also, is it just... This also just occurred to me. Did he only have 2 kids? And they were both sons? Or is it like, yeah, I had some daughters too, but I'm not going to talk about that because I'm not... It's like, no, guess what? A father raising daughters as well is still part of the masculinity. I mean, it's... He shares sometimes funny, often painful lessons he learned along the way. It's like, okay. But yeah, get out of the house. Action absorbs anxiety. This is 100% true. 100% true. I fully agree with this, that the kind of what I was talking about the image of the story that you get from the cover art and the title, and sometimes also the blurb. The image that we form in our minds of something that makes us anxious is many times going to be worse than whatever the actual anxiety is. Than whatever the actual thing is. So it's like, I don't have public speaking issues, but I know some people that do. Well, I know that some people do. I don't necessarily know people who have it. But there is one guy that I see on Twitter, and he's like, you know, I'm trying to, draft this script. I'm just doing it over and over and over again, because I got to get this right. I got to get this right. And I am there along with many other people saying, just do it, okay? Stop worrying about it. Just do it. It doesn't matter if it's like, oh, I followed this person. He basically put out the exact same video that I just did, so I got it. No. It can be identical. It can, well, you don't want it to be identical, but it's like, you can hit all the same points. You can use all the same reasons, but it's you doing it. Go ahead and do it. Go and do it. You don't need to worry about that. Fortunately, in that case, even that guy who it's like, man, it's like he read my mind on this. It's like, even he was like, dude, put it out. Just do it. Even he stepped in and was like, please do it. He was building up an image in his mind that he needed it to be so perfect, so good. It's like, no, you don't need it that way. He was getting anxious about it. Just do it. It'll be fine. It hopefully will be fun. Yeah, so it's like action absorbs anxiety. That can also be a statement of you're anxious about this, so you start doing this, and then the anxiety goes away because you focus. It's like, it's a way to process through the anxiety. You know what? That works too. That is also true. But it can also just be a, hey, want to do this thing, but man, I'm getting kind of weird. But you know what? Just do it. And I can remember times when I would have to do something public, some sort of public speaking. And I would be kind of nervous, but then I'd just go out there and just do it. And I was fine. I was fine. The anxiety disappeared because I was just doing it. So yes, absolutely, that is a true statement. Take risks and be willing to feel like an imposter. Don't let rejection stop you. Technically, rejection does stop you because you rejected you. It's like that job that I applied to, got that interview for, they rejected me. If I just showed up, they'd call security on me. And also, when you get constant rejection, the way I'd put it is this for me, because, I mean, you understand, it was about a decade before I got the job I have now, which is still underemployment. I had another job prior to that was also underemployment, but that's a little different. But the way I'd put it, and one of the effects it's had on me is, I do still have ambition, but it's been over-tempered. Don't let rejection stop you doesn't talk to me, because, like, look, I've already been rewired for that shit, okay? That's not going to help me. But it's also, don't take the risks and be willing to feel like an imposter. Okay, right there, we got a problem. Because that's a reference to the imposter syndrome, which is a psychological phenomenon. You're using psychological talk here. That's not what most men do. We might still recognize it, but it's not really what we do. Be kind. What the hell kind of term is that? You're talking to men. Be kind. That's what a woman says to a man. That's like, you don't actually understand what you're talking about, woman. Or what they say to each other. Okay? You know what you say to a man here? Be respectful. Okay? So what I just said about, it would have been satisfying. But it would have been very disrespectful if I had opened up that door and then started dressing down that man, that president of the company, for why he's an idiot. That would have been entirely disrespectful. And I know that. Okay? if it were today, I'd still like, be like, okay, look, reject me for this job, then I don't care. That's a dumb excuse. Let me explain to you why. And it's like, you can't, because it's like, that is such a bad answer. It makes me not want to work here. And you are potentially going to lose good candidates because of your idiocy. Like, but you do that in private and just say, like, 1-to-1. Because that is more respectful. Opening up the door and doing that would not be. Would have been satisfying, but would not have been respectful. Yeah, be respectful. Be supportive. Right? That's another thing you can say. Because that's be respectful. I know what that is. Be supportive. I know what this is. Be kind. What does that mean? No, seriously, what does be kind mean? Because that's very subjective. And just like, well, make sure they feel nice. It's like, but what if it makes me feel miserable? And also, what if they need to not feel nice? What if the situation is they're doing something wrong? I need to yell at them. I need to potentially smack them upside the head. Is that being kind? Because to men, a smack upside the head might actually be kind. I mean, it's like, or you're raising 2 boys. They had it coming. They needed it. Is that being kind? Some would say no, but is it necessary? Yes. Is it supportive? Even that? Yes. It can be supportive. That's the secret to success in relationships. Maybe with women or among women, but for men, respect. And support, also interest. Okay? That is also there. Like sharing an interest, having that, building on that. That's also part of it. Be kind. No. Okay, just no. And I'll also add this. I'm a kind person. All right? And I acknowledge that. And something else I mentioned about, having friends. I've only got 2. Neither of them are necessarily that great. All that. They're both women. For whatever reason, throughout my life, I've been more comfortable around women than I have been around men. I don't know why. I'm okay with that. But I don't know why. I am. I'm a kind person. My life sucks for various reasons, not connected to a lot of that, but still, some of it's just bad timing. But yeah, it's just, this is, at this point, it's like you're clearly using feminine language here. So who are your targets? Are they men or women? Find what you're good at. Yes. Follow your talent. No. Let me explain that. Find what you're good at. Yes. Find those things that are enjoyable to you, that are of interest of you, that you value, and that you're good at. Yes. But follow your talent. See, now this is where it's dangerous. Because what is my talent? I'm doing this because I have a talent for being able to sit down in front of the camera and just jabber. Sorry. Say, I know I ramble. Sorry. But I also have a talent for writing. Right? Maybe I'm not actually good at it. I don't know. That's for somebody else to judge. I'm at least competent. I can't just sit down and write. I have the creative ideas. I can do that. But if that's all it was, if I were just following that talent, well, I got other talents that I'd only find by doing other things. I've taught myself LaTeX, which serves the writing of the books. But you know why I first taught myself LaTeX? My resume. Because the Word template was a piece of shit. I decided, nope, let me try LaTeX. Hey, I can do all this. I can do things better than that. Great. I taught myself R, which is a statistics package. Blows the hell out of using a spreadsheet, okay? Like Excel or Google Sheets, there is no comparison there. It is superior. I taught myself SQL. I actually use that in work. So do I also use LaTeX in work. But it's like I taught myself SQL. Because initially I taught myself it because people use this and it may help me when I get a job. But then I'm actually, working. I've taught myself a lot more. And there are things I've done with SQL I could believe that some people that are masters of SQL, if I showed them, and this is mainly like getting something that happened in a batch file with SQL, might be like, this is possible? Why would you do that? Okay. Technically, that's also true with R, but it's like, don't just follow your talents, explore. And it might also be you find something that you're not good at. Like, I'm not good at art. So my cover art tends to be lousy. Okay, that's fine. I know I'm not good at it. So that's not one of my talents. Fine, I'm moving on. But you still want to explore. Don't just lock into your talent and stay on that. Explore, because you might find these other things that might be a better talent for you, or at least might be a better way to get a job. Acknowledge your blessings. No. Be thankful for your blessings. Don't just acknowledge them. Okay, do not just acknowledge them. Be thankful for them. And I'm thankful for mine. I'm very thankful that I can just sit down and write a book. Because you know something? No one reads my books, but I enjoy the stories. I write them because I want to know how the story ends. Like one of the previous times I recorded this video, I actually grabbed two of mine. One of them, a letter from Catherine, links to my author page on Amazon are in the description. But a letter from Catherine, I had no idea how that book was going to end when I started writing it. I had no idea what basically the third act would be at all. But I just sat and I wrote, and I'm thankful that my competency at writing and just how the inspiration flowed into my mind for it and how the story talked to me brought me there. I'm thankful for that. And I'm acknowledging it, but it's also I'm thankful for it. Be thankful for it, because you can acknowledge things you're not thankful for. So be thankful. And with The Children of Many Gifts, which I know is a lousy title, the thing is that the working title I had for was Pandora's Children, and I realized that's too esoteric. No one's going to understand what the hell I'm talking about with that. So change the name. But there were times, I knew how that was going to end, but there were times when it's like, okay, I've done point A and point B. Point C is next, but I don't want to get to it next. Hey, story, what do I do? And the story would answer, being like, you haven't talked to this character for a while. Cool, I'll do that, and I got a chapter doing it. Or the story would be like, we haven't been in this place for a while. Why don't you go visit there? Cool, wrote a chapter. It was great. I love it. That I'm thankful for that. Because it is a blessing that I could do that those stories spoke to me so well in that way. Create opportunities for others. Okay. It is good to do that. I will not say it's necessary. Okay, it's kind of the whole something's happening on an airplane, take care of yourself before others. Make sure you're in a good position and then create those opportunities for others. If it is you have to create them. If it is more of you're just letting somebody know or you're making that opening because it's not, that's fine. And I'm not saying, be selfish. No. I'm just saying you have to prioritize yourself first. Okay? And this is true for everyone. It really is. But it's also just, and create opportunities for others. What exactly does that mean? Be of surplus value. What the hell does that mean? Be of value. Right? How can you be of surplus value? Like, you are more valuable than you are? What is more valuable than expected? It's like, no, be as valuable as you can be. There's no such thing as being of surplus value. What is it? It's a nonsense statement. Yeah, create opportunities for it. That is a good thing. And it's like, with my books, I don't have a link to it, but I put together GitHub, where I have a repository up there that it has the scripts I've written and the instructions for how you can take a Word document, well, a docx specifically, and have it run and generate LaTeX files that then, yes, you need to do a little bit of manual stuff, but it will give you the PDF then that, yeah, this is what you could give to KDP or wherever for a print copy. It also produces the HTML that if you use this software, you can make the EPUB. That is, the kind of create opportunities for others thing that I've given you my process. I've put this up where now anyone can use it so that they, they have that document, but how do they make it into a book? Here you go. It's right there. And there's other advantages to it as well. Because Word and Google Docs, I'm pretty sure, actually I'm not so experienced there, but LibreOffice, the track changes feature is a piece of shit because it's one layer deep. By going to LaTeX, because that's just plain code, plain text, you can use Git, which if you know Git, that's cool, okay? And that's another thing that I've taught myself. Not great at it, but have taught myself it. So that now I can track changes as far back as I want. There can be comments on that. I mean, it's great. It's far more powerful. So it's like, it's a good tool that I built there and I shared there. And that is technically creating opportunities because I'm sharing this work with others. And I did that with a lot of stuff. There's a lot of things that I built with R, and specifically R Shiny. I put that out there. So anyone can use it. No one does. That sucks. But still, I'm saying, yes, do that. That's fine. Because, fruit of my labor, here. Alright. That's a creating opportunities for others. And is being thankful for your blessings is when you're thankful you do want to share it like that. But it's just a generic create opportunities for others. What does that mean? Being a good dad means being good to the mother of your children. This is true. I have no criticism for that. Maybe you could put that higher. I think I'll add one thing to that. I'll add one thing to that in general. That starts before you have the kids. Even before she's your wife, even, right? Have that in your mind already. Okay, there was a point. I wasn't sure if there was something specific in here that would give it. Let me get to this last point he has, and then I'll give it. Sorry, my throat's getting raw from so much talking. Life isn't about what happens to you. Yeah, it is. It's about how you respond to it. That is very important. Don't get me wrong. It's like, no, life is also what happens to you, but how you respond to it is of great importance. And it's also one of those things where people don't necessarily understand it. It's kind of like something I'd seen not that long ago. Talking about one of those differences between men and women, in that if a woman hits a man, no one really cares. If a man hits a woman, people care. And I saw someone explain it very, very effectively, which is basically saying, women don't have the natural strength, on average. There's some who also probably work very hard at it, that if they hit somebody, they're not a lethal threat, right? If they're just striking at somebody, if they're punching or slapping, whatever, so it's like, they hit a man. It's like, the man's not going to be seriously hurt. But men, we kind of are, not just because we are larger, but it's like how we've developed is so that we can deal with threats with lethal force with our bare hands. So it's like, we shouldn't hit a woman because of that harm, because we could seriously harm her. We're designed to be able to beat up and kill other men. So it's about how you respond to it. And my point there was just the whole, men have certain responses we're not allowed. But it does seem like some people neglect that don't respect that fact. And because it's like, a woman can hit a man. It's like, we can't hit back. It's like, yes, because we need to be tempered and you don't. You should respect that fact. You shouldn't abuse it by hitting men. So, so the point that kind of goes back to the being a good man means being good to the mother of your children. I wish I could remember where it was. It may have been off of this, but choose your principles, I would also add. And let me be clear, I'm not saying, oh yes, here's a list of principles, choose this one, choose this. No. You have your principles already, right? They are what they are for you, you have them. Choose them as in, it's not just, this is my principle. It is this is my principle, and I choose to keep it. That's another thing I feel is important. So it is active. It is not just a part of you. It is actively something about you that has meaning to you. So like I said, being a good dad means being good to the mother of your children. That starts early, okay? That starts before you having the kids. And that should be something that you are actively choosing to do, that you should be thinking. Not I need to be a good dad. It's like, because that's just, what? No, I need to be that. I choose to be this and think that way. Approach things that way. Okay? That when you're first dealing with that woman who may end up becoming the mother, that you're treating her with that kind of respect. That you are choosing to do that. That's not just how I act, it is you are making that choice. And you know something, before long with making that choice, it will cease having to be a choice. It is still your choice. You're still choosing to do it. It's still intentional. But it is, it becomes natural. Okay, so that's also part of the reason why you should choose it. It's basically you are setting that habit. You are turning yourself to be like that. You are wiring yourself to be like that. So that's another reason why you should choose your principles. Not that you're selecting them, but that I have actively decided this. Yeah. By the way, one thing I will add concerning that concept, there's one thing that I have learned from the writing and such. Hang on. There. Needed to respond to a text, which fortunately my watch could do it. This is not a smartwatch. It is a smartwatch, it's not an Apple Watch. I know it looks a little similar. It's actually a Pebble Time Steel. Can't get them anymore. I'm very glad that it's still working. It's old. There's that part of me with that book that I kind of wish I could just like write a rebuttal almost without even reading that book. Would you stop? Okay. I don't need another text. and it derailed me as well. But yeah, just for me, the misery of the chronic unemployment, and also the writing, because I'm having to think through characters and having to interact with them, it has proven helpful to me because of how it's allowed me to distill distill myself, distill my own character as well. So, like in those principles, like the whole being good to the mother of your children thing, it's like, yeah, but why is that? It's taught me to do that thing about choosing my principles. It's taught me about that, and like what I value about them, why they are my principles, and also their priority. That's another thing that I think some people don't always recognize, is that there are priorities to things. That there are certain priorities that I have that are higher than others. So there are certain wants I may have, but no, I want something else more, and that may mean that these other things that I want, I will not do. Or I will not have, even if it's offered to me, because no, I want this other thing more. So that's also part of it as well. But yeah, but nothing about the blurb for that book, and even the cover of that book, makes me think that it would talk to me. It's like, I already know a lot of the lessons that help me survive. And it's like, that book, maybe it'll include some of them, but I don't feel it will. Because too much of the blurb had feminine stuff in there. This is supposed to be masculine. This is supposed to be targeting men, being for men, right? Let me put it another way. That's supposed to be the kind of book that you could see a book club of men, wherever that is, whatever that would be, that they have taken that book and they're just going to read it and talk about it and discuss it together. But I read that blurb, I see that cover that seems to be more so a feminine hand, and now I can see that there would be women there reading it. Now, don't get me wrong. Women also should appreciate what's happening, what's going on with young men. That is true. But that doesn't mean that a book, Notes on Being a Man, that should be targeting men, right? That is not the book that women should be reading to figure out what to do. It might be a way for them to learn about what's going on, but I feel that's more of they need to understand what men are going through. And then you can start having the conversation of, okay, what's the solution? How do we help? But you have to start with them knowing what's going on. And some of them do because they see it. But it could be I see it, but I don't know what to do. I don't know how to help. That book, I don't know if that would help or not. Coding of it, in the blurb at least, seemed very feminine. So maybe it would help the women figure it out. I don't know, but do I think it would help men? Do I think it would help me? No. And not just because I've already gone through a lot of this stuff over a decade and a half, practically. Yeah. It's not just because of that. It's also just... Yeah, let me put it another way. If my life were different, but I still had these lessons that I know, and I had a son and was going through stuff, I read the description of that book, this isn't for him. This isn't going to teach him anything. In a way, what I would be more comfortable giving would be giving that hypothetical son something like Arthurian legend. I'm completely serious here. Because what does it describe there? Men who, chivalrous men. Like there's one story in particular, I cannot remember the guy's name, where he's having to travel because he's going to rescue this one woman who's trapped in it, who's being besieged in her castle by this one knight, and he's like, all right, I'm going to go do that, but he's being accompanied by her sister. And she is a shrew, she is horrible. Today, you'd expect that those two would hook up. Nope, it's still that sister, he gets there, they meet, and it's like, oh yeah, we're getting married, we love it, oh yeah. But along the way, he'll encounter these knights, where it's like, a bridge, and it's like, I need to cross the bridge. Well, you gotta fight me for it. Okay? He fights, but he doesn't kill him. He just beats him and throws him over the edge of the bridge, and they keep going. Because he didn't need to kill that enemy. So he chose not to. And he was powerful enough that he could also manage that. And he keeps doing that, but where he encounters these people and he doesn't kill them. The shrew is constantly insulting him for this, though. But that doesn't stop him. What he's doing is right, and he knows it. So he doesn't care that she's constantly insulting him. And she is insulting him by saying, oh, well, you just couldn't kill him. That's how weak you are. It's like, no, it's because of how strong I am that I did not need to kill him. And what ultimately ended up happening was not, he gained their respect. So it's like, be kind. It's like, no, he was being respectful, okay? Because like, I don't need to kill you, so I will spare your life. So as a sign of I'm showing respect to you. It's not out of kindness. I'm showing respect to you. I don't feel that I need to take your life. But it's also, he then demanded respect later. I think they were all actually brothers to the guy who was besieging. But regardless, later on, he could call upon any of them to come help him, and they would. They would, because of the respect earned there. That is way more story I'd give to a young man to read than what I'm getting the sense of from that blurb and from that cover art for whatever that last book was. Notes on Being a Man. It's like, because that's the kind of thing you should strive for. And yes, there are going to be shrews in your life, and it sucks, but what are you going to do? You press on. Mental strength, we already got that. If we're surviving, we've already got it. So, yeah, it just doesn't mean we don't need help. Doesn't mean we don't need support. We do. And that's part of the reason why the mental strength is so high. Because I think plenty of us, we're not getting that help. We're not getting that support. And you got people that are like, well, it's fine. He's okay. That also, I mean, maybe I shouldn't say this, but it's like part of my suspicion for part of the reason why I don't necessarily get some of the help, get some of that support, is I don't come off as somebody who needs it. I mean, I've even had the experience where I've asked people for help, and then they don't give it. They turn me down. Even if it's something where it's like, back in college, I remember one time asking somebody, it's like, for help as far as, hey, can we work on the homework together? It's like, no, sorry. But it's like, okay, what were they doing? They were working on their homework. It was just, I wasn't going to be allowed in the group. Asking for help, refused. There's another time somebody actually offered to help me. Like, came up and was like, hey, I'm going to help you with this. Never ended up happening. Actually, it happened twice. Never ended up happening. I think, I don't know why. It just seems like I exude this aura of, yeah, I don't actually need help. I can just get things done. Which on the one hand, that's nice as far as the whole, yeah, I can just get things done. But on the other hand, if I need help, I need help. And people being like, nah, you'll be fine. It's like, that's not helpful. I just realized, did I forget to talk about this? This is, let me do this. This image here. It's Cat's Paw Nebula. I don't remember if I said it or not. NGC 6334. It's a James Webb Telescope image. I like it. I think it's a nice image. I don't care for cats, but I think it's a nice image. And if I do another one of these in the future, I'll probably, that'll be what I keep. Kind of like how with this, I keep this image for all the assigned reading, which I don't remember what the actual name of that is. But yeah, so anyway. I don't know if I'll do another one of these. I might. I like the idea of going through covers, being critical like that. But, yeah. It's also a little dangerous, because I know... how long have I been rambling just on this one book? Alright. See you next time.